Good evening, everyone. Yes, I wanted to talk about a revelation I received tonight concerning the 8th day that we are in at the moment on the timeline. The 8th day is about the period after the 7,000 years have passed since Adam. And as I said before in other videos, that this is the thing that I believe, that we are in that short season of deception that Revelation 20 talks about, wherein Satan is deceiving the nations. We can see everything is a deception in this time we are living. Satan is actually lying about everything, every little thing in our lives. And we have to search for the truth concerning everything. And that in itself proves that we are living in the season of deception. We can see around us, of course, the millennial kingdom has come and gone. The Freemasons, they got the name from not having to build anything. They are free from being masons, from being busy building things. As you can hear, my first language is Afrikaans, so I don't speak English usually, so bear with me. But like I said, Freemasons, the name refers to not having to build anything. They inherited the millennial kingdom's buildings, and of course they destroyed most of it. I think probably like 80% of those buildings have been destroyed in the past. The narrative they give us is everything burnt down. You can look at all these stories. It's always about fires that started, and then some pictures you can see whole cities, the whole millennial kingdom cities being destroyed by so-called fires. But yes, we can see the evidence around us that there has been a worldwide period of peace because the same type of buildings have been built in all the countries in the world. All the countries, even in the areas of South America that they only recently could get to. Even there they found millennial kingdom buildings. And places like Australia, that when they went there, you see the pictures of the massive buildings there in Australia. And when you read the history, it doesn't add up. They sent criminals there, and they want to tell us those handful of criminals, they built those magnificent buildings. It's impossible. And also in Japan, that's been closed off from the Western world. Same type of buildings have been built in Japan. So who did that? Because they didn't have anything to do with the Western world according to history books. Yet they have the same type of buildings that America's got, that Rome's got, Europe, Australia, South Africa. But it's actually interesting, I noticed that in Africa itself, there's not so much of those buildings built. I think there's a reason for that, and I might touch on that tonight when I talk about this revelation I received concerning the 8th day. Now, let's go here. The 8th day, what does it talk about? It talks about sacrifices and circumcision. And that's what I wanted to look at. Now, I give a few verses here, and it talks about the circumcision on the 8th day. You circumcise, and what does the circumcision have to do with us and the 8th day? It has to do with the covenant Yahuah made with Abraham and his descendants, and it's an everlasting covenant. Now, what did Yahuah say in that covenant? He said that he will make Abraham fruitful, they will multiply, but also that he will give the territory of Canaan to Abraham. The territory that Canaan stole from Shem, in the beginning. He is going to give that fertile, blessed place and area as an inheritance to Abraham and his descendants. And part of that covenant was that they had to be circumcised physically, which is, I think, very awesome and amazing. And it points to what I've read in my previous videos, the verses that I've given you. It refers back to those verses that says that Yahuah will again gather his people, the descendants of Abraham, Israel. He will gather them from the four corners of the earth back to one place in the second Exodus, which I proved is South Africa. He will gather them there, and then afterwards they will be able to move back into the original territory of Israel, which is at the bottom part of Africa, up to the equator. It's not the fake Israel there by Palestine. That was part of the covenant that Yahuah gave to Abraham. He is also going to fulfill that on the 8th day that we are living in now, the 8th day, which is the period after 7,000 years have passed. We are in that period now. So we are in the period of circumcision, of a remembrance of the covenant Yahuah made with Abraham and Israel. A remembrance of Yahuah giving the original territory of Canaan, which is the bottom part of Africa. He's giving it to Abraham and Israel. And again, now in the time we are living, Yahuah is again gonna bring back his people, Israel, to that territory, because it is the 8th day. Isn't it amazing how the word explains these things, the deeper meaning of these laws Yahuah gave us, the deeper meanings, just like his festivals have deeper meanings. The same way, even things like these covenants have deeper meanings. As you can see on the screen, I mentioned some of these verses. You can write them down and read through them. This is concerning the covenant Yahuah made with Abraham. I wrote here, the covenant of Yahuah, that includes the 8th day circumcision, is concerning the return of Israel into the promised land, promised to Abraham and his descendants after him. It refers to the second Exodus and of people getting physically circumcised again before entering the promised land. We read this also in Joshua 5, verse 2. At that time Yahuah said to Joshua, make flint knives for yourselves and circumcise the sons of Israel again the second time. We see this happening just before they moved into the promised land, into Canaan. Yahuah told Joshua to circumcise the Israelites first. And I believe that's also going to happen again this time around. That Yahuah is going to circumcise the men, or let the men be circumcised before they are allowed to move back into the original territories of Israel in the bottom part of Africa. And we use references of other verses talking about another thing that happens on the 8th day, which is sacrifices and offerings. And remember that I mentioned Zephaniah 3 verse 10 before, where it says that during the second Exodus, Yahuah's worshippers will bring him offerings. Psalm 72 verse 10. Again, the people of the area of the bottom part of Africa, where Tarshish is, and Sheba and Ophir, they will bring Yahuah gifts. The same as was written in the law, that on the 8th day the people had to bring offerings and gifts and sacrifices. Now that we are living in the 8th day, it will happen again, that people will bring Yahuah offerings, gifts and sacrifices. Now I wanted to talk about the meaning of us bringing sacrifices and gifts. and offerings, which our worship is also a gift to Yahuah. Remember that. So I wanted to talk about that now. We read in the book of Nazareth, which is another gospel of Yahushua's life, a more in-depth, the most in-depth gospel basically of Yahushua's life. There's much more information in this gospel than in all other gospels in the Bible. It says here in 6 verse 47 and 48, Yahushua told her, "Be assured the time is coming when the place of worship is unimportant, for though you people worship without understanding the nature of worship, while the Yahudim worship with this knowledge, neither know the true nature of worship. The time is coming when all who understand the nature of worship will do so in spirit and in the light of truth." So we see it says here, we will worship in the spirit and in the light of the law. By obeying the law, you are worshipping Yahuah. You are bringing your body as a sacrifice to Yahuah. You're offering yourself as a sacrifice. By obeying His commands and sanctifying your temple, which is your body. That is a sacrifice to Yahuah. That is what Yahuah expects of us in the times we are living now. He's not talking about, again, bringing animal sacrifices. For Yahuah is the greatest of spirits, and His worshippers must therefore bring something of the Spirit, this and labor in His service. Now, laboring in Yahuah's service is obeying His voice, of course, but it's also obeying His commandments, which is also His voice, things that He's told us to do in the past. We must obey that. We must follow in Yahushua's footsteps. He obeyed the law, and He told us to follow in His footsteps. John 15 verse 10. And He says here, this and labor in His service is the only acceptable kind of worship. The smoke of flesh and fowl are not acceptable offerings. A good explanation of what true worship is today that we live on earth. It's not about animal sacrifices. That's why the temple's been destroyed. It is about doing what Yahuah expects you to do, being led by His Spirit, allowing His Spirit to write His commands on your heart, obeying His commandments. We read in Romans 12 verse 1, "Beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahuah, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to Yahuah, your reasonable service." Now, if you eat unclean animals, you defile Yahuah's temple, just as His temple was defiled when they sacrificed pigs on the altar. The same way, if you put pig in your body, you defile Yahuah's temple. Remember that. We are not allowed to eat unclean animals as believers. We are not allowed to do that. Yahuah never changes. Malachi 3 verse 6 says that. You must still eat clean animals. There is no excuses. We read in Isaiah 66 verse 17 that in the last judgment of Yahuah, He will destroy those who ate unclean animals. That's in His final judgment. He will destroy those who ate unclean animals. So clearly it's still important to Him. And it is because your body is His temple. And your reasonable service is to not eat unclean things. To not damage His temple with alcohol or smoking. Or damage His temple through fornications and adultery. So yes, it's important to remember this. In the times that we are living, these are things that we must do. We must turn to Yahuah and purify and cleanse our temples and bring our bodies as a sacrifice to Him on the 8th day, as the law said. And the times we are living is the 8th day now, and this is what we must do. And of course, physical circumcision seems to be important also for the future if you want to be one of those that enters the territory of Israel, the original territory. Because Yahuah will again expect the true Israelites to be circumcised before they can enter, because that was and always has the original covenant were made with Abraham. Physical circumcision is a part of the everlasting covenant. So we have to do that if we want to enter into Yahuah's territories again. So yes, this is the revelation that I wanted to share with you guys. And yes, I think it is amazing, this revelation, and yes, that I've never seen this before or noticed it. Recently I thought about the 8th day and what it means, and what the Bible says about it, because I know that we are living in the 8th day on the timeline. And then Yahuah gave me this revelation tonight on circumcision and sacrifices that they sacrificed on the 8th day, and they circumcised on the 8th day. So, and two things that will again happen in the times we are living, and also part of that covenant being we can move back into Yahuah's original territory of Israel that he gave and promised to Abraham and his descendants. It's amazing, and it refers straight back to the second Exodus that will happen in these days that we are living. Very, very soon it will start happening. Yahuah is going to prepare the area where Israel is going to return to. In South Africa, there are already people preparing for Christians going there, white Christians worldwide, and they will start going there when the wars starts happening in their countries. They will flee to South Africa as Yahuah leads them. Sadly, some of them will flee to the wrong Israel, the fake Israel, the satanic Israel, and they will die there. They will be destroyed there. But those who listen to Yahuah, who loves Yahuah and obeys him, I believe Yahuah will reveal to them that they need to go to the real Israel territory, that they need to gather in South Africa first before they can move back into the real territory, which is just above South Africa. And yes, I believe Yahuah will do that for his people. And as I read in the prophecies so far, that only a remnant of Israel will be saved in the end. Only a remnant of Abraham's descendants will be allowed to enter the original Israel. And that is sad, but that is the case, because only a remnant of Israel will go and will return to Yahuah's commands, will start obeying him. Israel is very stubborn and rebellious, and it is sad that they are so stubborn and rebellious. And that is why only a remnant will be saved in the end. But these are those days we are living in. The Gog of Magog is already busy conquering countries. They've already conquered Ukraine, and they will move on to other countries next. They will move on to other European countries, and eventually they will also attack America. There's many countries they will conquer, not on their own. They will have the help of other countries, of other BRICS nations. But this is Satan's working. This is Satan preparing for that final battle. We didn't understand how that battle was going to play out in Revelation 20, but today I understand. Recently I came to the knowledge of how it's going to happen, because the verses there says that Satan is working in the hearts of Gog of Magog to prepare them to surround Israel, the remnant. Let's see what that says. And Revelation 20, that he will be focusing specifically on Gog of Magog. I didn't understand that because the same text says that he will gather people from the four corners of the earth to surround Israel. Yet it mentions that he focuses on Gog of Magog. There is a Satan will be released from his prison and will go to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And here it says, Gog of Magog, to gather them together to battle. It says he's going to deceive the nations, and then it says he's deceiving Gog of Magog. But today I understand this, that Gog of Magog is where his focus lies, because he's going to use Gog of Magog to conquer other nations, and then use the armies of those nations to surround Israel in the end. That's how it's going to work. They're going to be under the banner of Gog of Magog, all these nations that he's going to conquer. And part of him conquering those nations will be the second Exodus, because during those wars people will flee those countries because they don't want to die. And Yahuah will lead them and protect them and help them to get to the safe place of South Africa in the future. That is what Yahuah is planning, and that is awesome. That is great. And I praise and worship and I honor Yahuah for these things, and I thank him for revealing these things to me. And yes, I hope and pray that the true Israelites, the remnant, will see these things, will also receive these revelations, so that they can return to Yahuah's original territory in the future. When the time comes, when the time is ready for them to return to Israel, because at the moment South Africa is under the control of Satan and the communists, so it's not ready for receiving anybody. But Yahuah will make big changes there in the near future. And yes, as I said in the previous video, last thing I want to mention is that that territory of South Africa, according to Kobus Sinner van Rensburg, prophet of South Africa, who prophesied in the 18 and 1900s, he mentioned that, I wanted to say, Yahuah will gather Israel in the bottom part of Africa. What else did he mention? I can't remember now. But yeah, that's all I have for you tonight. And yeah, have a blessed evening. Bye.